Okay, so in an effort to um, uh, continue to practice all this Solana, Anchor, SvelteKit stuff and whatnot, I have an idea. So I have this little basic allowance tracker for my kids, um, and I thought it'd be kind of funny. They're too young to have like the doing wallets and stuff. That would be a little bit more complicated. But the idea is just kind of keeping track of like their allowance essentially. Like they do some stuff or they get some birthday money or whatnot. I can, I've just been. It's like a glorified Excel sheet, but it's basically a Vue Firebase app that I built way back when, and it still runs. It does the job. It kind of keeps track of like what they spent on what, was it a debit or credit essentially, and that's really it, like very basic stuff. So the Solana cookbook or some of the user guides, early tutorials out there, they have this kind of create a basic ledger program where, let me see, this is the escrow. So where it's basically you create a ledger account, and this ledger has two fields, color and balance. And then you have a function that allows you to modify just the balance, say, okay? And it's kind of like an intro to Anchor and Solana programs. So here, when you initialize the ledger account, you get this kind of, it ties a seed to the wallet plus a little, some other seeds specific to the color. And then you can modify. And then we later learn to not, when we modify, literally just changing the balance, like we're passing some balance to it here. Originally, you can fetch it. You put in like the pass wallet address. Yeah, like I think there's, I forget which field. So these fields aren't updated correctly. I think the seed, pass wallet address. I probably should rename this to say wallet address, which is just this connected wallet. So you basically type in the color, and there you go. So if I did color is a blue, clearly don't, this is just creating the ledger. Here we go. Approve it. Great. Ledger account created, and then you can kind of go over. Then if I type in, here to fetch it, and it may pop up like in the console. It's been a while since I've looked particularly at this basic example, but if I take my wallet and I copy it, behind the scenes we have, what are the seeds? We have the color, the wallet, and like a little underscore. So if I do get ledger, I think in the past this would actually like display like on the page. So I don't think I'm logging it or displaying it anywhere, but then kind of shows like, okay, they have a balance of whatever, and then you can kind of update the balance, initialize, I think, to, if I do say 40 and I modify ledger, see what happens. Yeah, so here we go. So color blue, modifying balance of blue from 0. So blue is the, 0 to 40. Great. Ledger account created. Obviously I haven't updated. This is skeleton UI stuff. I just haven't fully invested into this just yet. And it's okay because we're going to completely redo it. But basically successfully modified ledger. So it kind of just shows like what happened. Now, we later learned that you can have kind of what they call custom instructions data, where you pass in your custom instructions, which are in Anchor terms, it's like a account, and basically we have these instructions where we give them an operation, like a mathematical operation, like add, subtract, multiply, whatever, or reset, and then like the value. And this is kind of fun. Like it's a way to kind of create your own instructions data, custom instructions, and then there's a little helper that we evaluate, and whatever operation that is passed, we take the value that they give us and that we have, and we modify. So for example, I just said blue is 40. So if I want to do blue and the operation is minus, which is this one, and the operation value, which let's say minus 15. Now this is like a modify with a custom instruction. So if I click on this and hit OK, great. This obviously I've just copied that same pop-up message for all of them. I need to change that. But now look, it says color, or our PDA has a ledger account with data, color blue, balance 25. Yeah, I have this message updated, wallet, blump, PDA, blump. So it just kind of shows what's happened. Yeah. So then you have successfully modified the ledger. Yay. And the UI is not complete, but the functionality is there. So the idea that I got from this is, having gone through using the escrow program, where create some escrows and do some SPL token exchanges, and then I also have this voting app where you can kind of create a poll, just a very, very simple poll. I don't know. Salty, spicy, something like this, and I create a poll. And this program's kind of cool, and it's not complete yet, but the functionality is there, but the UI is not done. But like the wallet, what this program does is it allows the wallet, everyone has like a profile. You create like a profile, and then so the wallet can create multiple polls, just like it can create multiple escrows. And then if I wanted to do a search for dog or whatever, that is a nice little thing. But then when you go to here, and this is not finished, it's the same kind of thing with my escrows. I'm using stores to kind of keep track of this stuff, but I really want to utilize SvelteKit 1.0's like new server function, the loading and stuff. I know that was available in the past, but they've completely revamped it. So I want to, for this ledger project, I want to change it up. But the idea is like here with the voting, you can only vote once. So if I say salty, it's tied to the wallet as a vote, and each vote is submitted in its own unique PDA account as well. But the PDAs, the votes are associated with the poll, and yeah, so and because I've already voted, it's kind of disabled. It won't accept another vote. I've clearly got to fix and do some sort of like creative UI, but once I do, the feature, the functionality is already working, and shows like kind of like, okay, here's the wallet that voted, and this is the selection, and it just kind of like a little tally of all the votes for this particular poll. And this one is limited by wallet, so you can only vote once by wallet. Thought that was kind of cool. That was fun to implement. And now back on the main page, we see that we have a vote count, and we can still view and stuff like that. It's using the same kind of stuff that I did with escrow, because in the past, using stores, I'm using this kind of custom go-to where I click on dog, cat, and yeah, and it's using some navigation to go back. But the idea with ledgers is that I'd like to, my thinking, and I've got some notes, let's do page. I was thinking about doing, obviously trying to do this without the stores. Like I want to kind of try a a little bit more stable approach. But the idea is that maybe creating similar, where I create a ledger, and the ledger is essentially like per kid or per person or per user, where I create, the ledger is still creating a PDA, but the idea is that it's kind of, the ledger is, say, associated with a name. So, Bob or Alice or whoever. And then what they would have as a ledger, rather than like color, they would have like a balance. There's a few things that they would have, and the idea is that the ledger account would generate it's a PDA generated by the wallet plus maybe like the username. That way a wallet could create multiple. So if you've got, 2 kids, you can create 2 different ledgers, one for child 1, one for child 2. And obviously, like, the point of this is just, keeping track of what they're spending, or, maybe they did some chores or they got Christmas money. So you would, the idea is like you would, similarly to escrows or what, you would have kind of like, okay, when I log in, it would show the active ledgers that I have. And I could kind of click into the ledger, which would then take me to like a PDA route specific for like each account, like each child. And then the idea is I could use something very basic like this, where I don't have to do, type in the color or like the name. It would already be there. But basically I could perform a simple operation on the ledger account where I could, add or subtract or reset for whatever reason. And then submit that kind of modification on the ledger, but in a fun way is like, I would like to keep track of the transactions, and because they're not using wallets, because, this is kind of more of like from the parent admin, the parent logs in and they have, when they log in, connect with their wallet, the connected associated accounts display here for them. And then the parent essentially just can kind of just to keep track of it, click on it and make modifications to each child's account. But then I was thinking it could be kind of cool where you can maybe even do like some sort of custom SPL token, where the parent, logs in and they have a chance to, mint some generic SPL token, call it allowance or call it daddy token or whatever, milk, I don't know, just something kind of funny. But you have some generic SPL token. And then the idea is that the parent would mint supply to their wallet. So then I would have create an associated token account for this SPL in my wallet, which I could then use to transfer to the ledgers. Now the ledgers in a way would be acting kind of similar to what my escrows are. So like, let's see, escrow lib, let's do this one. The escrow here has things like, this, you can replace this with like ledger. So it has like maybe a name to help identify, for the ledger. But then you could have some things like, right now in my escrow program, I have an escrowed out token account. So this is an actual, I'm going to move this over here. This is an actual token account, associated token account. So when we do an escrow, when I create an escrow, I create this, and I'm actually taking this token, whatever I put up here in the out token, I'm taking that and I'm transferring it directly into this escrow account, which is a PDA, and it's storing as an ATA. This is it. So this could be kind of like this would be essentially the ledger token account. Very, very generic. Okay, but it would be able to store this custom SPL specific for ledgers, for your kids. That'd be kind of funny. And then there's some things in here I don't need. This is not an escrow program, but you could add maybe some fields that one idea is like some transactions, right? So like every time I'd like to be able to keep track of like, okay, yeah, you spent, $20 here on this date, so that would, so the ledger would be a PDA with some details. Okay. And then each ledger would be associated with a bunch of transactions. So the idea is kind of similar to if I open up my poll votes, voting, and see, let me open this up. So in my programs and voting here, instructions, state, let's check out, let's see what we have here, like a vote, like each vote. This would be kind of simplified. This would be a transaction essentially for each kid. Like every time they do some sort of, this would be like a ledger transaction, and it would have probably like maybe a date, maybe obviously some amount involved of the SPL token, and maybe some like operation, like was it a type of transaction? Was it a credit, a debit, that sort of thing? Just kind of some basic tracking. And let's see. So what you could do is the authority for the transaction could be tied, tie that to the parent wallet, so that each vote, I want to be able to create multiple votes, or not vote, each transaction, ledger transaction, would be able to have like multiple transactions, obviously. So I'd have to have a way to uniquely generate unique PDAs. And so each transaction on an account would actually be its own PDA, similar to how I'm using votes. And then we have quite a bit of stuff we could do, when you click into, say, you click into this so-called ledger account, it would have its own route. And then just like, here on a vote, you would have kind of a list of transactions and some transaction details, like, the date and the amount and the type or whatnot. But meanwhile, all it would be doing is also like the amount would be really kind of represent the SPL token amount, and that would have to somehow, similar to my escrow, would have to do some sort of deduction instruction, where here, like in my escrow, when we accept, and we have some unique seeds for that, we would have, there's a obviously a bit of where's my create, initialize? No, I need my instructions. Yeah. So let me get rid of this because it's too much. I need more room. But essentially, similar to the accept, it's going to do a little bit of a transfer. It's going to either transfer the SPL from the parent wallet. So like when they, you start off and you just mint as a generic, a billion tokens, it doesn't really matter. It's just funny money to the parent's wallet. And then they are able to, when we, if we are adding money to a ledger, then we would be performing a transfer of tokens, where we're transferring from the authority, which is the connected wallet, and we're transferring it to the to like right here. This is going to the escrowed token account, but again, this is inside of the escrow, which is a PDA, and this is the token account needed, associated token account with the so-called SPL that I would use. And then like for a deduction, it would essentially be taking the reverse, like it's another kind of transfer. It could be a transfer, or maybe just a simple burn of the token. You could transfer back to the parent, which could work. That may be easiest. Or you could consider just burning it. It doesn't really matter. I think I haven't thought that through at this point. But yeah, so that's kind of my initial thoughts on this. I think it would be kind of neat to experiment with, because it really recaps quite a lot that I've done with these other projects kind of combined. I've done some stuff with escrows, and which involves these transfers of tokens and SPL tokens and such, and minting and whatnot, because I've created tokens and minted supply right here, just for development purposes, and then done some cool stuff with like the voting. So like, actually, let me show you last bit. So if I connect to a different wallet, yeah, so one second, let me get this, get my login for that and sign in. Let's see. Yeah, so look, so what I've done here with this program, and this is a little bit different, but this was probably a fantastic example of like learning how PDAs can work together, where you create a profile, and that profile is able to create a lot of different polls, and each poll is allowed to have different types of votes, and all of the while, like all of these are PDAs. Like the profile is a PDA, the poll is a PDA, each vote is a PDA, but they're all linked to the connected, using the PDA addresses essentially for each. So it's really really cool in that way. But so if I create a poll, a profile, I can just say to it doesn't. This is just experimenting. But again, this is skeleton UI pop-up stuff. Pretty handy. Great pre-made components and such, so really helpful for someone like me. But yeah, creating a profile, which is just to a PDA, great, successfully created. Now that I've created a profile with this account, I can, I don't know, let's do Kicks versus Cheerios. Create poll, boom. This poll is going to create a PDA account. So it costs a little bit of money, does that. Great, it was successfully created, and now I have this poll. I know there's some ways to kind of sort by a certain thing, order, SvelteKit, that's something else. But here it is. So if I click into it, now we have a new poll. And be the first to vote, yada, yada, yada. And I'll go with Kicks. Do submit a vote. Costs a little bit because it's another PDA. So it's just kind of keeping track of like all the, all the votes and stuff. So now that I've voted, this wall is connected. It shows it's disabled. I can't, but I should be able to see like results, yada, yada, yada. Go back, and here it shows. Now if I go to this one, this has already been voted on. Let's go. I'll click on Salty, and it creates my vote. And now this wallet as a user is also disabled. So some of this functionality, I could kind of mix it up to do something kind of fun with the ledger. And I think it could be kind of fun. So that's kind of the intro and kind of where I'm thinking this is going to go. But I think it'd be kind of fun to experiment and try to pull all this together into something that would be fun for me as a parent to just kind of, keep track of my kids, their money. I think ideally, or an advance would be like being able to, if they were old enough to do like their own wallets and stuff, then you could kind of do some more like wallet to wallet transfers instead. So then they, every time they do a transaction, the transactions are tracked just based off of the custom SPL token or something, that kind of thing. So then you're just looking at like SPL, just tracking SPL token transfers between like a parent wallet and theirs. So that's a little completely different. But yeah, that would be kind of a fun project. So that's what we're gonna do. Stay tuned.